Story 1. This is the story of Kevin, a 34-year-old commercial refrigeration technician from Ohio who was sent alone to a small town for a 3-day job and stayed at the only motel in the area, where the woman at the front desk warned him on the first night not to open his door for anyone, where a shadow stopped outside his door twice before midnight, where someone crouched outside his peephole at midnight and tried to open his bathroom window at 2 in the morning, and where he found something under his bed before he left, something that told him he had never been chosen at random. My name is Kevin. I am 34 years old. I do commercial refrigeration repair, the kind of work that sends you to different towns every few weeks. Cheap motels, diners, long drives alone. I had been doing it for years without a single problem, until the 3 nights I spent in the small town in rural Pennsylvania. My company sent me there on a Thursday, walk-in freezers at a family-owned supermarket, 3 nights of work. The motel was the only one nearby with vacancy. Single floor, about 12 rooms, all the doors facing the parking lot. I checked in around 7 in the evening. The woman at the desk was friendly but distracted. She kept glancing past me toward the parking lot while I was signing in. When she handed me the key, she said something that caught me off guard. She said if anyone knocked on my door at night, not to answer it unless it was her or the owner. I asked if the area was bad. She said just some drifters sometimes, that they liked to bother guests. She said it in a completely casual voice, like it was normal checkout advice. I told myself she was just being cautious. I was tired. I took my key and found my room near the far end of the row. Clean enough. Old, cigarette burns in the dresser, dark spots in the carpet. I went and got food from the gas station down the road. Came back around 8. On my way back to my room, I noticed a man sitting in a dark green pickup truck 2 spaces from mine. Engine running, headlights off. He did not look at me the way a normal person looks when someone walks by. He just sat, completely still, with both hands on the wheel. I assumed he was waiting for someone. I went inside. At 10:30, I showered and got into bed. About 20 minutes later, I heard footsteps outside, slow, coming along the walkway. They stopped right outside my door. I waited for a knock or for them to move to the next room. Neither happened. Just silence outside my door. After maybe 15 seconds, the steps moved on. A minute later, they came back the other direction and stopped again, right outside my door. Still no knock, just silence. Then they walked away again. I got up and looked through the peephole. Nobody there. I told myself it was a guest who had the wrong room. Drunk, maybe. Confused. I went back to bed. A little after 11, someone knocked on my door. I stayed still, did not answer. They knocked again. Same exact rhythm. I got up and looked through the peephole. Nobody there. My stomach dropped. The walkway in front of the rooms was empty under the dim parking lot lights. I checked the deadbolt. Already locked. I put the chain on too. I was about to get back into bed when I noticed the curtain near the window had shifted slightly. Not enough to see out, just enough that someone outside might be able to see in, depending on where they stood. I moved it shut, turned off the lamp, lay in the dark, and listened. Around midnight, I heard something different. Metal lightly scraping against metal near the door. I got up as quietly as I could and looked through the peephole. Someone was crouched low, almost below the peephole view. I could only see the top of a dark baseball cap and one shoulder. I stood there maybe 5 seconds. Then the person stood up fast and walked away, footsteps going quickly toward the end of the building. I called the office immediately. The woman who answered sounded annoyed until I told her what had happened. Then she went quiet. She asked me if I had opened the door. I said no. She told me to stay inside, said the owner would check outside. A few minutes later, headlights swept across my curtain. Someone drove slowly through the lot and left. She called back and said nobody was there now, probably just someone messing around. I asked if I should call the police. She said it would not do any good unless the person came back. I barely slept. Every sound woke me. Around 3, I passed out. At 5:15, my truck door alarm went off. I jumped out of bed and looked through the window without moving the curtain. A man was standing at the driver's side of my truck with the door half open. Tall, dark jacket, hat. He was turned away from me. Then he looked straight toward my room, like he knew I was watching. He shut the truck door and walked off fast toward the road behind the motel. I called 911. Police came 15 minutes later. They checked my truck. Nothing missing because I never leave anything in it. One officer asked if I was sure I had locked it. His face told me he already did not quite believe me. The older officer was different. He asked the motel owner about cameras, one in the office, one pointing at the front entrance. Nothing covering my side of the lot. Before they left, the older officer told me if it happened again, not to open my door for any reason, and to leave as soon as I could in the morning. I asked if they thought it was random. He said, probably. His face did not match that answer. I had to work that day. I was already there. I told myself I was overreacting. I spent the day at the supermarket. Normal. Everything felt fine in daylight. When I got back to the motel that evening, the woman at the desk saw my face and offered to move me to room 2, near the office. I asked why she had not offered that the first night. She hesitated, said she did not think it was necessary. Then she said something I have thought about many times since. She said it usually does not happen 2 nights in a row. I asked what that meant. She immediately acted like she had misspoken, said the drifters normally move on. I thought about driving an hour to another hotel. I was exhausted. I told myself 1 more night. Around 8, I brought food back to my room. While I was eating, I looked through the curtain. The same dark green pickup from the night before, driving slowly through the lot, past my room, turning around near the road, parking at the far end with the lights off. I called the office. The owner answered this time. He sounded irritated, said if the truck was not blocking me in, there was not much he could do. I asked if he knew who it was. He said, people come and go. I sat watching the window for an hour. The truck never moved. Eventually, I turned off the TV and lights and lay down with my clothes still on. After 11, I heard footsteps again. Very slow this time. Then a soft tap at the window. Not the door, the window. Another tap, closer to the center of the glass. Then a fingernail or something dragged slowly down the outside of the window. I could hear it clearly. I had never felt fear like that. I knew the person was standing inches from where I was lying, and they knew I was in there. I grabbed my phone and started dialing 911. Before I hit call, I heard the bathroom window rattle, the small frosted window above the toilet. Then I heard something worse, the sound of the room next to mine opening, like a key or a tool working the lock. Then the door opening. That room had been empty when I checked in. I had checked through the crack in the curtains the night before and never seen a car or light there. I got out of bed and crouched near the wall that connected our rooms. I could hear movement next door. Not someone checking in, someone trying not to make sound. I called 911 and whispered everything as quietly as I could. The dispatcher told me to stay on the line. While I was talking, I heard one hard hit on the shared wall behind the headboard, like someone testing how solid it was. Then another, quieter. Then nothing. I was listening so hard I could hear my own heartbeat. Then the bathroom window in my room started to move again. Not rattling this time, opening, just slightly. I ran to the bathroom and shoved it closed with both hands. Something on the other side pushed back once. Not hard, but enough that I felt it. I locked the latch, even though it looked like it would not hold anything serious, and backed away. The dispatcher said officers were 2 minutes out. I could hear movement outside my front door now, more than one person. Then soft knocking on the door, same as the night before. I grabbed the motel chair and jammed it under the door handle. Police arrived about a minute later. As soon as headlights hit the curtains, I heard running, at least 2 sets of footsteps. The officers found the screen on my bedroom window removed and lying in the bushes. Fresh pry marks on my truck door. Fresh pry marks on the door of the empty room next to mine. The older officer from that morning came back and asked me privately if anyone was angry at me or if I had posted online that I was staying there. I said no. He told me they had seen that green pickup before. There had been 2 other incidents in the previous 6 months at that same motel. Men staying alone for work. In both cases, someone had tried to get into their vehicles during the night. One man reported hearing people outside his room, but left before reporting anything else. The other woke up to his motel door cracked open, even though he swore he had locked it. Nothing was taken in either case. The officer said they believed the group was following out-of-town men from work sites and waiting until they were isolated and trying to get inside their rooms. He never said exactly what he thought the end goal was. He did not need to. I packed my bag while 2 officers stood outside. Before I left, I checked under the bed. I do not normally do that anywhere, but something made me look. A folded piece of paper shoved almost against the wall. I had nearly missed it, only found it because I had dropped my phone charger. Part of a local newspaper torn into a square. On the back, in pen, my room number, my truck plate. They had not picked me at random that night. They had been watching long enough to write things down. I left before 1 in the morning and drove 2 hours home. My company sent someone else to finish the job. He stayed in a different town. I still travel for work, But I always request ground floor rooms near the office now, and I always check under the bed. Every single time. Story 2. This is the story of Layla, a 24-year-old woman who matched with a man on a dating app who seemed completely normal for the first 2 weeks, until he started commenting on things she had never told him. The color of her car, the coffee place near her work. Small things she explained away. Until the night she was walking home alone and he sent her a text that stopped her cold in the street. A text that proved he had been watching her for a very long time, and she had never once seen him. My name is Layla. I am 24 years old. I want to tell this story because I think about how easily I almost let it go. How many times I explained something away. And I want other people to understand how fast it can happen before you realize what is actually happening. I matched with him in March of last year. His profile looked completely normal. A few photos, friendly face, decent bio, nothing alarming. We started messaging the same day. Easy conversation, he was funny, asked questions and actually listened to the answers. Within a week, we were talking every single day. He said he worked in construction, said he lived about 30 minutes from me, said he was looking for something serious. Everything he said sounded reasonable. After 2 weeks, he asked for my number. I gave it to him. The texting started normally. Good morning messages, asking about my day, sending me things he thought I would find funny. Then, slowly, it started shifting. He started asking where I was going when I left home, who I was with, what time I would be back. I told myself he was just attentive, that it was nice that someone cared. Then he started commenting on things I had never told him. He mentioned the color of my car once. I had never described my car to him. He mentioned the coffee place near my work. I had never told him where I worked. Small things, easy to explain individually. I told myself he had probably pieced things together from my social media. Photos I had posted without thinking. Location tags I had forgotten about. I kept talking to him. One evening in April, I was walking home from a friend's apartment, about 10 minutes from my building, a street I walked all the time. My phone buzzed. A message from him. It said, "You look cold tonight. You should have worn a heavier jacket." I stopped walking, read it again. "You look cold tonight." I was outside, alone, in the dark, and he could see me. I looked around the street immediately. A few people further down. Nobody near me. Nobody I recognized. I typed back, "What do you mean?" He sent a laughing emoji. Said he was just joking, that he meant it was cold out in general, that I should take better care of myself. I kept walking, but my hands were shaking. I got inside and locked my door and sat on the floor of my hallway for about 10 minutes. Then I went through our entire conversation from the beginning, all of it, reading it differently now. Every question about where I was going, every comment about things I had not told him, the way he always seemed to know when I was home and when I was not. I called my sister and told her everything. She told me to block him and call the police immediately. I blocked every account I had for him. The next morning, a message from a number I did not recognize. It said, "Blocking me was a mistake." I went to the police that morning, gave them everything, the screenshots, the numbers, all of it. They took it seriously. 2 weeks later, a detective called me. They had identified him. He had done this before. A woman in another city had filed a similar report 8 months earlier. She had blocked him and received messages from unknown numbers. In her case, it had escalated before they caught him. The detective did not tell me exactly what escalated meant. I did not ask. I already understood. I changed my routine completely after that. Different routes, different times. I went through every social media account and removed anything with a location or a time attached to it. But I still think about that message. You look cold tonight. He was there that evening, standing somewhere close enough to see what I was wearing, watching me walk home. For weeks I had been talking to him every day and had no idea that somewhere out there he was already watching me in person. I have no idea how long that had been going on before that night. That is the part I cannot stop thinking about. Not the message, the before. All the times I walked home alone before that night. All the times he might have been there. And I never knew. Story 3. This is the story of Marcus, a 38-year-old experienced backpacker from Tennessee who set out on a 4-day solo trip in the Appalachian backcountry and on day 3 noticed a figure on the trail behind him. A figure that no matter how fast he moved, stayed exactly the same distance behind him, that circled his camp twice in the dark that night, that was gone in the morning along with every piece of gear he had left behind, and whose identity he never found out, but whose message he received through his emergency contact at 2 in the morning, 3 states away. My name is Marcus. I am 38 years old. I have been backpacking serious remote terrain since my early 20s. Multi-day trips, no maintained trails. I know what I am doing out there, and I have never had a problem. Until this trip 2 summers ago. 4 days, a loop route through the Appalachian backcountry. I had done part of it before, filed a trip plan with a friend back home, packed properly, left early on a Monday morning. Day 1 and day 2 were exactly what I had wanted. Hard miles, beautiful country. I saw one couple going the opposite direction on day 2. We nodded and kept moving. That was the only person I saw. Day 3 started normally. I broke camp at first light, moving by 6:30. About 2 hours in, I saw something off the trail to my left. A tent, green, small, set up badly, too close to a creek, low ground. Whoever had pitched it did not know what they were doing. I called out a hello. No response, no movement. I kept moving. 4 hours later, I stopped to eat on a high rock with a clear view back along the trail. And I saw the figure, maybe a mile behind me, moving the same direction I was moving. Not unusual by itself, except I had been moving at a solid pace all morning. For someone to be only a mile behind me, they would have had to start at roughly the same time I did, from roughly where that tent had been. I moved on. An hour later, I stopped and looked back. The figure was closer, half a mile now. I picked up my pace considerably, stopped and checked again 90 minutes later. Same distance behind me as after the first hour. I had hiked faster, and the gap had not changed. I made camp that evening at a high ground site with clear sight lines. Just before dark, I looked out across the valley below. The figure was there, setting up at the far edge of the tree line, facing up toward the high ground where I was. I let my fire die down quickly, got into my tent, and lay still. Around midnight, I heard footsteps, distant at first, getting closer, then circling my camp, once, twice, and stopping somewhere nearby. I did not sleep. At first light, I packed everything and moved, fast, no breaks, hard miles. I covered the last section in one long push and reached my car by evening. Drove 2 hours to the nearest town and checked into a motel. When I got home the next day, I called the friend I had filed my trip plan with, told him everything. He went quiet for a moment. Then he told me something. On the third night of my trip, around 2 in the morning, he had received a call from a number he did not recognize. He had not answered, assumed it was a wrong number. In the morning, there was a text from the same number. It said, "Your friend is in the mountains." That was it. Nothing before, nothing after. Your friend is in the mountains. My friend had not told anyone about my trip. I had not told anyone except him. I do not know how someone had his number. I do not know how someone knew he was my emergency contact. I do not know what that message was meant to say. A warning? A confirmation of something? Something else entirely? I have no answer, and I have looked for one for 2 years. I went back the next week to retrieve the gear I had left behind in my rush. I found my campsite exactly, the trees, the rocks, exactly as I remembered. My tent was gone. My sleeping bag was gone. My cooking supplies were gone. Everything I had left behind was gone. The only thing remaining was the black circle of ash from my fire, like I had never been there. I did not look around. I turned around and walked back to my car. I still go backpacking, but I never go alone anymore, and I vary my routes every time. Never file a plan with the same person twice. Never post anything about a trip before I leave. But there is one thing I cannot stop thinking about. That text. Your friend is in the mountains. It was not a threat. It was not a demand. It was just a statement. Calm, simple, like someone letting my friend know where I was. Like someone who wanted him to know, but not to come. 3 people, 3 situations that started completely ordinary. A motel room, a phone conversation, a hiking trail. And in each case, something or someone had been watching for far longer than the person ever knew. Kevin found the piece of paper under his bed. His room number, his license plate, written down calmly. He had been chosen before he even unpacked his bag. Layla received that message on a street she walked every day. She will never know how many times he had been there before that night. How many times she had walked right past him without knowing. And Marcus. Marcus got home safe. But someone out there has his gear. And someone out there has his emergency contact's phone number. And someone out there sent a message at 2 in the morning to let that person know exactly where Marcus was. And nobody knows why. Pay attention to the small things. The comment that knows too much. The shadow that stops too long. The figure that stays exactly the same distance no matter how fast you move. Your body knows before your mind does. Trust it. Good night.